What's up guys, it's Mindset Performance Coach Adam Comet here, and today I'm super excited to share with you a whole new approach to optimizing your poker performance. Now for the past few months I've been very quiet on social media, I've been doing less coaching, I've been posting less frequently on YouTube, and it's because I've been working very hard on producing this new approach to optimizing poker performance, which you guys are going to learn about today. Now to give you a backstory of where this came from, I've been working on this without really knowing for the past 20 years. Alright, so from the age of 11 through to 22, 23, I used to do a lot of sport, in particular middle distance running. And I used to compete in races around the country. And I always prioritized looking after my body and my health and training to achieve certain objectives. So I was always training 3 to 4 times a week, racing on the weekends, and that was my life throughout my early teen years. When I got to 18, I went to university to study sports science to increase my knowledge on the body and performance and how to optimize performance towards sport outcomes. Then my life turned a bit of a U-turn at the age of 23 when I discovered poker, and I put my knowledge on the body to one side for a bit and I started to work on the mind. Because as a poker player, as you guys know, you get very obsessed with solving problems and it's a very intellectual pursuit. So for 3 to 6 years, I went all in on poker and how to master the mind in order to become a better poker player. Now on that journey, I started to realize a lot of crossovers between what I'd learned about the body and through sport and through my own experiences that were very, very useful for me as a poker player. For example, I realized that I could take on more stress than most players. I realized I could push through downswings better than most players. I realized I had tools and coping strategies to deal with the hostile poker world better than a lot of poker players. And at the time, I didn't realize I had those skills, and I didn't realize it was significant. In all honesty, until I reflected years later, and I didn't link the dots. All right, so I was like, okay, I did sport, and I took it quite seriously. What's that got to do with poker? Poker players, nothing to do with it. All right. Then about 4 years ago, I decided to get into performance coaching and mindset performance coaching for poker players and helping them to reach that next level. And for the past 4 years, I've literally worked with hundreds and hundreds of players around the world, helping them to get to that next level. And some sort of realization I had recently, about a year ago, an observation I made was players who had some form of physical practice, or they were more in tune with their body, or they'd done sport when they were younger, seemed a lot better at handling poker variants and a lot better at dealing with poker challenges, and overall they have more successful poker careers. All right, so if I could see the people who had the biggest mindset problems and I could see the people who had the least mindset problems, there was a big correlation between how they looked after their bodies and the kind of physical approach to their bodies and their mind. All right, and this got me thinking, perhaps there's a bigger link there than I thought. Now, for the past year, I've been trying to find out this riddle. All right, I've been going, what is it about that the body that allows you to perform better at poker, and where's the links? And about 6 months ago, I had a big aha moment, like a click, 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 like lights going off, and it was the realization that there's a better way to approach performance. And I realized the way I was coaching, there was levels to improve that. I realized the way that players were approaching their performance, there's way more better approaches to improve their performance. And this is what birthed the idea of the poker athlete. All right. Now the poker athlete is all about training your mind and body for elite level poker performance. And it got me to take a step back from poker and look at how the highest performers were doing in sports. All right. And if you look at sports, it's all about training specific skills towards a specific outcome. All right, so you decide on your outcome. Say it's Usain Bolt to run the 100 meters as fast as possible. He doesn't just run the 100 meters all day, every day, and just keep running, hoping he gets faster. The same way as a poker player doesn't just play poker every day, hoping that his results are going to get better. There's certain skills that you need to improve. Now, other than your technical game and studying, what skills do you need to improve? All right, this got me to have to really think about, problem solve, what core skills do poker players need to improve in order to get to the next level. And then it got me thinking about a bit of a problem in mindset and performance in general, is that most players don't work on it enough until they have an issue. So they can't deal with the downswing. They're having a rough patch. And it's used more as a problem-solving tool, fix a problem, and then they get back on with their normal poker life. And this always struck me as a bit odd, but also I could see why it was the case. And I thought there must be a better way to approach coaching and approach performance that has always improving in mind. Regardless of whether you go for a downswing, regardless if you're on the best heat of your life, how can you continue to improve? It's like an athlete's always getting better, all right? They're always perfecting skill sets. Roger Federer doesn't stop practicing the serve. Kobe Bryant never stopped shooting free throws, all right? Sports stars don't stop improving because they're trying to optimize skills to get better and better, all right? So then I thought, why can't we take this approach to poker? Why can't we identify the key skills that are needed and train them in order to get better and better and better until you're the elite version of yourself? And guess what? You can, all right? And you have to just break things down into certain skills, all right? So for the past 5 months, I've been identifying the key skills of all the players I've worked with, all my experiences over the past 20 years, but in particular, the past 4 or 5 years, and I've come up with 8 skills to improve, to level up, that will get you to become an elite poker athlete and change every area of your poker performance, all right? If you can master these 8 skills, your poker success is all but guaranteed. I say all but guaranteed because there's this thing called variance that might screw with you the rest of your life, but that aside, it really sets you up to perform at a super high level. And I realize most players, they're good at some things and they're bad at other things. All right, so you've got 8 skills. Some of those will be your strengths and some of those will be your weaknesses. So the first thing you need to be able to do is identify the skills that you need to work on, so the 8 skills, and then you need to be able to know how good you are currently at each skill, all right? So for example, you might be very good at one and very bad at another one. We need a way of quantifying your starting point, all right? So this is another kind of problem that needs to be solved from a coaching perspective. How do you know what training and coaching to give people based on their current skill level? All right, so step 1 is to first of all identify the skills and then to give you a performance score for that skill to begin with. All right, so 8 skills, score yourself for that performance to begin with. You then need to know how to progress that skill. All right, how to progress that skill and get better. The how and the what you need to do. All right, in order to get that skill from a beginner level to an intermediate level to an elite level. All right, so identifying the skills, getting a score to begin with, a baseline score, then working through a training program specific for your skill levels, and then reassessing yourself at the ends in order to upgrade that skill. All right, so this was the riddle I had to solve, and this is what I try to conceptualize in terms of training skills to get better in order to improve your performance. And knowing as a poker athlete, a poker performer, that you're improving certain skills by your actions. All right, so imagine you're trying to work on your technical game and you were studying certain spots and improving your game in certain areas, but you never got to check your results. You never got to check how you were doing. Over time, you get disincentivized and be like, is it working? Is it not? Not sure. On the flip side, imagine you were working on a certain spot and then you did 100 scenarios of that same spot and you checked your win rate for that spot before and after your new strategies, and you saw that you were making significantly more since you changed your strategy. Now you're like, awesome, this is working, I'm going to keep doing that. All right, so you're motivated to keep doing it. So with mindset performance, it's really important to know the changes you're making are helping you to improve. All right, they're helping you to level up and go to that next level. All right, so with this poker athlete approach, the goal is to address your skills, first these 8 skills, your current level, then to give you training to increase your level, and then to reassess yourself to hopefully have increased your skill level in that area. And then you have the option to go from beginner to intermediate to elite with each of these 8 skills. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to introduce you guys to the 8 skills to become a poker athlete. So the first 6 skills needed to become a poker athlete involve training for the mind. And the first of those skills is self-awareness. Now, in order to take your life to the next level, you need to become aware of your current programming and conditioning and the outcomes that's currently creating in your life. Based on your past experiences, all our past experiences lead to a set of beliefs that we create for ourselves. And as a result, we end up living in a very narrow box of what we think is possible for ourselves. So to show this in terms of an analogy, let's think of the concept of the ceiling and the floor, all right? The ceiling and the floor. I'll try to put a diagram here so you guys can see as I'm talking about it. So the floor is the minimum standard you will accept for yourself, all right? So let's talk about it in terms of your bankroll or net worth. Some players will have their floor as 5K, some will have theirs as 10K. And the floor means if I ever drop to this point, I will hustle, I will get myself motivated, I will do whatever it takes to get myself going again, all right? It almost tastes like a survival mechanism where you're like, I will not accept this. I will not accept anymore. I'm sure you guys can relate to what your flaw is. If you ever hit that point, you're going to do whatever it takes to get yourself going again, all right? Then on the flip side, we all have a ceiling, all right? And the ceiling is when you start to ease off the accelerator. You start to go, life feels pretty good up here. You start to think this is what you're worth. This is the story you tell yourself. This is the stakes I play. I only play these stakes, or I've got this much of a bankroll. And as soon as you get towards your ceiling, consciously, but normally subconsciously, we start to ease off, all right? And you'll find that very often you're going to your comfort zone when you hit this ceiling. And very often we haven't identified it. So you'll find you live your life oscillating between the ceiling and the floor. When you hit the floor, you bounce off. When you hit the ceiling, you ease off, all right? You end up your life living in this box. And we have different boxes for different parts of our lives, but it's all built around our beliefs and the stories we tell ourselves. So a poker athlete stops and goes, wait a second, what happens if I was to raise the floor to a higher point? And what happens if I was to smash down my ceiling and create a new one? How would you do that and what would that look like? All right, and there's a whole process for, once you've become aware of your programming, to reprogramming yourself and creating a new, what I like to call identity 2.0, a new version of yourself, which is a new narrative, a new ceiling, and a new floor. All right, and when you start doing this, you realize, wait a second, I can upgrade a lot of areas in my life simultaneously just by becoming aware of my programming. All right, so self-awareness in any of your life is so important, but especially as a poker player, you've got to look at the condition you currently have and create a new program which involves moving up the floor, moving the ceiling. All right, you could even call that removing your fears and increasing your desires. All right, but we've got to come up with a whole system for that. So the poker athlete works with beliefs, he works with his values, and he works with his identity. All right, and those three things become the keystones of how he's moving forward. And when you do take care of those things, very quickly you can realize a lot of obstacles you put in your own way. And when you start to remove those, things start moving very quickly. All right, so the first skill set is becoming very self-aware of your current programming and then creating new programs which are in alignment with your new vision of yourself. The second skill that the poker athlete trains is emotional regulation. Now, as a poker player, you're going to go on an emotional roller coaster throughout your careers. And most players would love to take a magic pill and hope all those emotions go away and they didn't have to deal with it. And that is the wrong approach, all right? The goal is not to have less emotions. The goal is to become better at riding the emotional wave, all right? So imagine you're a surfer, you're surfing a wave. You've got to go with the wave and make the best of the way the wave's going to crash, all right? There's no good wishing that the wave wasn't there or that it didn't have to happen that way, all right? So when you're a poker player, you want to be able to spot what emotions you have and get very comfortable with a wide range of emotions, all right? So to do that, you've got to learn how to regulate your emotions. I use the word regulate over control because it's much more accurate of what you're actually trying to do. You want to, over time, dial up your positive emotions and dial down your negative emotions. And you want to have control of the operating system, all right? On the flip side, you also want to be able to widen the range of situations that you can handle, all right? So some players will flip out after a few bad beats. Other players will be able to take 5, 6, 7 bad beats before they flip out. Other players can take weeks and weeks of bad beats and bad scenarios and they don't flip out. Why is that? Surely a bad beat makes you flip out, or a bad beat doesn't make you flip out. And the reason is they're better at regulating their emotions, all right? So it's all about becoming aware of this trigger-response relationship, all right? And realizing when an event happens, which is the trigger, what is the response? And get very clear on what situations cause bad responses, and then come up with coping strategies that create space between trigger and response that allow us to handle more over time, all right? And the master skill is the ability to regulate your emotions in real time. Now, to win this game, you've got to start off small, all right? You've got to start with small things that trigger you and cause small responses. And once you get good at that and you understand that there's a toolkit you can use to do this, then you start building bigger ones and bigger ones. Most players make a mistake here because they try to regulate their emotions at the top level. They wait until they've had a massive tilt episode, they've blown up, and they try to solve the problem. Why did I tilt there? All right. In reality, there's a load of domino effects that happens that you need to get good at. All right. But the poker athlete doesn't want to control their emotions. They don't want to mitigate them. They want to ride the wave of their emotions to the best of their ability. All right. So the second skill is mastering emotional regulation. The third skill that the poker athlete trains is focus. And focus is like a superpower. It's also a bit like a muscle. All right. We can train the ability to focus for longer over time. All right, now think of focus like a laser beam. All right, it's like the center of your attention, and we want it to be both intense and we want to be able to hold it for a long duration. All right, so some people can have a tense focus, but they get distracted very easily. All right, so they focus for 5-10 minutes really intensely, and then a thought of what they're going to eat or something that on social media pops in their head, and they get distracted easy. The attention shifts around. All right, other people can't get that intense focus, but when they do get in focus, they can hold it for longer periods. All right, so there's two things you're training simultaneously: the ability to intensely focus and sustain it. All right, so almost like focus endurance. All right, now the good news is you can train the skill set, and I wouldn't say it's easy to train, but there's a whole system you can employ both off the tables, out of game training, and in-game training that allow you to focus more intensely and for longer. And it comes down to understanding there's two components in play. All right, in terms of our brain, we need our brain to be alert, and we also need our brain to hold attention. All right, and there's a certain chemical makeup of the brain, things that happen in your brain that allow you to do that. All right, and by training certain skills of how to hold your attention, you can train yourself to first of all hold your attention on what you want to spot your attention drifting off. So imagine in terms of like you're trying to focus on a poker table, you then notice your attention's drifted off. You can train yourself to get quicker at spotting it and quicker at bringing it back. And over time, that allows you to hold your attention for longer and longer. All right, and the way to look at it is basically what we're trying to do is focus on the front of the frame. All right, so we're trying to focus on one thing. We have this thing called our peripheral attention, our peripheral awareness, going on in the background. So imagine I'm trying to focus on this camera right now. That's my center of attention. In the back, in the peripheral, I've got thoughts about, is this going to be a good video? Should I reshoot this module? Is the light too bright? Going on the back of my head. I'm trying to hold my attention there. Now, if any of those thoughts got too big and too powerful, they become the front of the lens, all right? And that other one gets shot to the back, all right? So you've got to be constantly training your ability to keep your attention where you want it to. Understanding that occasionally it's going to drift off, something else is going to come to the front of you, and you've got to just shift that back and bring your attention back to where you want it to. All right. So it's this whole game of spotting awareness, spotting when your awareness is gone, and training to come back. And when you do this over and over, both with out of game training, generally with meditation practices or training your attention to focus on certain things, and then in game, every time you're playing, using every session as a training tool, you can hold your focus for way, way longer. All right. It's a really, really trainable game, and you can actually go for a progression from almost like a very low level focus to a pretty high level focus quite quickly. All right, and I'm talking about in terms of weeks of training this muscle consistently. All right, so focus is the third skill that the poker athlete trains. Now, the fourth skill that the poker athlete trains is resilience. Now, resilience is the ability to recover quickly from setbacks. When bad things happen, at the poker tables, in your personal life, anywhere in your life, you're able to quickly return back to your baseline cognitive and emotional state. All right, if you're resilient, you do that quickly. If you're not resilient, that takes you longer. All right, so players who need to take long breaks or who burn out often lack resilience. All right, because it takes them a long time to recover. On the flip side, poker players who have bad beat after bad beat, then they quickly back focus on the next hands, have a high amount of resilience. All right, and we've got to build a resilient mind. As a poker player, one thing is for certain, you're going to get punched in the face. Not physically, metaphorically, you're going to get punched in the face a lot. Bad beat after bad beat, bad scenario, and sometimes it will feel like the whole world is against you. All right, so many players think the poker gods are conspiring just personally against them because poker can feel that way. And in order to overcome that, in order to overcome all the setbacks, the heartaches, the downswings, you've got to build resilience. Notice I'm saying the word build resilience. You don't have to be resilient because resilience is a process of taking on challenges. So to become resilient, you've got to understand that you've got to put yourself in situations that challenge you out of your comfort zone over and over again. All right, you've got to build into your days activities that you do that stretch you beyond what you're comfortable at. And realizing almost like elastic can stretch and then come back. You want to stretch yourself and then realize you can come back to a baseline. If you stretch too far, you break. All right, so you want to know what your limits are, how far you can strain before you bring back. All right, so imagine a stretch elastic band. You want to get that out of the limits without snapping it. All right, and over time, you want to become anti-fragile. All right, so imagine if I get a sheet of glass. Imagine this was a sheet of glass and I dropped it. It would smash, right? Because it's fragile. All right, on the flip side, if I go a muscle, the bicep, and I go to the gym and I do bicep curls, as long as I don't lift something that's going to rip the muscle off the tendons, and I rip all my muscle fibers by training it, that muscle, if I have a good recovery, will come back next time even stronger. I've I've literally ripped the muscle fibers, I put it under tension, and it now comes back stronger. So what you want is you want to take on life's challenges and come back stronger as a result of them, all right? And you want every event that you're going through at the poker tables to build your resilience, all right? And I always think that life can either make you or break you. It always comes down to this concept of resilience. If you're resilient, everything that gets thrown at you is making you stronger. It's building your character. It's building your resolve. If you're taking things the wrong way, you're not able to train the skill, life's beating you down and you're getting weaker and weaker and weaker. You're like the sheet of glass that smashes when it hits the ground. All right, so you've got to build resilience in. And the goal is not to wish that life was easier. The goal is to wish for you to be stronger so you can take on more. All right, there's a whole set of approaches you can do to train your ability to be more resilient, both again on the table training and off the table training to build a resilient poker mind. The fifth skill that the poker athlete trains is perspective. And the poker athlete realizes that we have control over the lens that we put on and the way we choose to look at life, all right? And when we change the way that we look at things, the things we look at change, all right? And this is such a powerful tool that if you get good at mastering your perspective and looking for the positives from situations, oh my God, your mind becomes so strong for poker, all right? So it's the whole classic example of, is a glass half empty or is a glass half full? And we can train ourselves with certain exercises to always look for the positive perspective. All right. So for example, let's say you're experiencing a very tough downswing and you've lost half of your roll. All right. Now the pessimistic perspective would be like, oh my God, I had double the amount, I've lost this, and I'm sliding downhill. All right. You're choosing to put a lens on that is painting the picture of this event very negative. On the flip side, what if you took a positive angle from that and you were like, oh, I've only lost half my roll. I've still got half my roll to play for. I'm still playing poker now at a high level. I'm still in the game of life and poker. How much fun. This is awesome. And even though I'm losing, I'm learning. My game's better. My mindset's better. I'm building skill number 4, which is resilience. I'm getting stronger as a result of facing these setbacks. I wouldn't change it for the world. That's just one example of changing perspectives of how you see things and how things change. So as a poker player, you've got to always realize you control the lens you put on. Very often in life, people just go through life as victims and they see life as everything's good or bad. The way to look at it is life is always neutral and you choose which lens you want to see things through. All right, you choose that. And over time, you can train yourself with a series of skills and exercises that allow you to always, as default, put on the positive perspective. Now, this isn't about wearing rose-tinted glasses. This is not about becoming delusional. This is not about tricking yourself. This is choosing to see a perspective that is beneficial for you. And if you can start to do that in real time when things are getting bad or things aren't going good, quote unquote, you can become a master of your life, all right? And you'll find out that you're easily able to handle anything that life throws at you. And anytime it gets tough, you choose to see the good perspectives, and all of a sudden, life falls into place. All right, so we can widen our perspective or we can narrow it. Generally, when we narrow it, things get very intense. When we widen it, we start to see the bigger picture. And there's a whole host of training you can do to allow yourself to almost like zoom in and zoom out to see smaller views and larger views in order to train yourself always to change your perspective. And every time you're finding yourself in a bad situation, you can ask yourself, what perspective am I currently taking? How am I currently looking at the situation? And you get better and better at that until the positive becomes your default way of viewing things. The sixth and final skill of the mind is presence. And this is the icing on the cake. This is the holy grail of performance. It's the ability to put yourself in your A game, your peak cognitive state, often. All right, it's the ability to be fully present in what you're doing and to be in a high performing state of mind. And the way I like to teach this is I talk about 2 states of mind you can be in. One is the trainer mindset, all right? And the trainer's mindset, very active, very analytical, very problem-solving based. And the trainer mind is amazing when you're studying poker. However, it's way too active, way too judgmental, way too much going on to be effective at the tables, all right? So you need to transition from the trainer mindset over to a different mindset called the performance mindset when you play it. Now, the performance mindset is almost like the opposite of the trainer mindset. And it's empty. By empty, I mean it's clear. It's generally using intuition. It's in the moment. It's playful. It's able to access stuff effortlessly. And it's able to basically function at a very high level without much effort. All right, this effortless flow-like state. And as a poker player, you need to train yourself consistently to get into the performance mindset. And you do this by being very present in the moment. All right, so you train yourself with a whole host of priming exercises in order to know what it looks like, to create a profile of what this performance mindset feels like. You then go through a set of warm-up exercises to prime the mind to go into that mode. You then spot when you drift out of that performance mindset into the trainer mindset, and you get good at switching back. All right, so there's a whole host of training you do to put yourself in a present state of mind. But the skill that you need to master when it's all said and done is the ability to be present in the moment, fully immersed in just the moment that's in front of you. And a lot of these skills overlap, so you'll find that when you're good at focusing, by focusing intensely for a period of time, that allows you to get into this state of presence more frequently. All right, so a lot of them do overlap, but presence is all about being there in the moment and acting better. And you'll find when you are present, life is a lot easier. When you are in the moment, life's a lot easier. And the skill is, how do you prime your mind to get there? And how do you spend more and more of your session in this performance mindset? Now, you can't be too idealistic, especially when you're starting to train this skill. You can't expect your whole session to be in your A game. You can't expect to be present 100% of the time. But over time, you want to be training this so you're spending more and more of your time in this performance mindset, in a present state of mind. All right? And that's the final skill the poker athlete trains for the mind. Now, the final two skills that the poker athlete trains involve the body. And skill number 7 is stress mastery. Now, stress mastery is all about understanding that we need to be at a certain level of activation in order to perform at our best. If we're too activated, then our performance drops off a cliff. So too activated, think you're angry, you're frustrated, you're enraged. And if we're too underactivated, let's say we're bored, we're tired, we're disengaged, either of those cause a drop in performance. And there's an optimal zone, stress response zone, to perform at our best. I'll do a graph here to show what that looks like. But it's basically a U, inverted U, and in the middle, we have our peak optimal performance. Now, to do this, you have to understand your physiology, all right, your body responses, and understand your nervous system and how it's responding to your environment, all right? You need to master your body's responses to stress, your body's responses to poker situations, what's happening in your body from a physiological standpoint in order to perform at your best. And you also need to understand what's happening when you push it too far, when you get overactivated, and when you're pushing it to not enough and you're underactivated. And by controlling our physiology, we can control our cognitive and emotional state. So when you learn to master the stress response, you learn to use the body to override the mind. All right, that might sound complicated to you guys, or might sound might not make sense, but basically, rather than using the mind to try and fix the mind's problems, which most people do, they try to think their way out of a lot of their issues, understanding that there's a physiological profile that you can alter in order to change the mind. This is very important when you're in a peak heightened state or a peak low state. If you're super bored or super lowly agitated, super lowly engaged, you want to use the body to ramp up your physiology. Think of it like a Formula 1 car. You're putting fuel into the car and get yourself ready. On the flip side, if you're too activated, you're really high energy and you're really angry, again, using the mind to try and get yourself out of the problem doesn't really work. So you need tools with the body to drive you back up that curve, back into this optimal performance zone, so you can master that response. And the goal is being able to dance with this response, realizing that sometimes you're going to drift off that way, sometimes you're going to drift off that way, and being in control always, realizing what's going on in your body so that you can always prime yourself with the right level of activation. All right, so understand your physiology and mastering it in order to master the stress response is the 7th skill of the poker athlete. And the 8th and final skill of the poker athlete is energy optimization. The poker athlete realizes in order to achieve his goals, in order to live life up to his full potential, he needs to master his energy. He needs to optimize his body and his mind so he has the fuel in order to progress at a high level. And to do this, you need to understand your body as an energy factory. How do I create energy? How do I utilize energy? How do I supply energy to my brain and body? And really understand the core concepts and approaches that are needed in order to drive a high-performing vehicle, which is you. All right? So I picture this like being a Formula 1 car and understanding the vehicle of the car, understanding the engine, what engine I'm running, understand what fuel to put into that engine, and then how that fuel gets supplied to use around the body. Alright, so for you guys, as a poker player, it's going to involve nutrition and understand how nutrition works on a really high level for cognitive performance, how to prime yourself and basically fuel your body with the right nutrients that allow for the optimal fuel source for what you're doing. There's loads of different diet approaches, but you can understand the core concepts which allow you to pick the diet that works perfectly for you and the level of alertness that you're wanting. So for example, you're going to put different fuel into a Formula 1 car compared to a racehorse. Both of them are trying to achieve a fast outcome, but you can put different fuel sources compared to what you want. All right, so it's understanding how the things you put in your body impact this energy production machine. You then need to understand how exercise and movement can ramp up more energy. All right, and there's 3 different things that movement in particular can do to increase your energy. One, we can optimize energy production, both on a cellular level, and you guys learn about mechanisms, well, the poker athletes learn about the mechanisms that are involved in energy production. You then learn how to utilize that energy, meaning you're producing more energy, but you're actually using it for the body to produce the right neural responses in the brain. And then you need to learn how to supply that energy to the body, all right? Generally using your organs, the heart and lungs, to pump blood around the body, all right? Without going too deep, I'll expand on all these concepts in future videos, but you need to learn how to optimize your energy so you're feeling fueled and ready to perform. The next step of that is recovery, all right? And how you actually refuel your body and recharge your body with different practices, all right? Recovery practices to do that, all right? But a poker athlete is obsessed with always optimizing their energy because they realize when you've got more energy, life is a whole lot easier. I'm sure you guys can relate. When you wake up and you've got a lot of energy, life's easy, right? Life's a piece of cake. On the flip side, when you wake up and you've got low energy, life's hard. And most people leave this to chance. Most people are like hit and miss. Monday, Tuesday was good. Wednesday, Thursday felt like shit. Friday, okay. Saturday felt a bit better. Up and down all the time because they're not realizing there's a system that they're not fueling in the right way. All right. Once you learn the concepts and you apply them, you realize your energy is in your control. All right. And once you do the right practices, you can actually optimize it so your energy is always at least 8+. All right. There's gonna be certain things that might stop at being a 9 every day, but you can always be an 8+ and aiming for 9s and 10s of energy every single day. So those are the 8 skills of the poker athlete. So to recap, we had 8 skills for the mind. The first of those was self-awareness, then we had emotional regulation, then we had focus, then we had resilience, then perspective, and then presence. And the final 2 skills were skills of the body, and they were stress mastery and energy optimization. If you're able to master all 8 of these skill sets, you will literally be what I call an elite poker athlete. Now, I really want to just dive in today and share all this with you. I know I probably went super quick and brushed over a lot of stuff very broadly. I am going to expand on all the concepts. All 8 of these are going to go into an individual video coming very soon. So look out for those where I'll expand on each of the concepts in more detail. But I really wanted to share this with you guys today on how to become a poker athlete. I've been working on this in secret for 4 months, and this is the first time I've shared it with anyone. And I wanted you guys to be the first to know that this concept is coming your way, and you're going to be able to go through a trainer program that will help you level up all these concepts. So if you want to find out more about what's going on with the poker athlete and how you guys can get involved, just click on the link below in the description. There'll be a link there to see that, and it will tell you the next steps you can take in order to start moving forward to be a poker athlete. Now, if you did like this video and you're enjoying this kind of concept and you want to hear what's coming next, please smash that like button so I can see that this concepts resonate with you guys. Drop a comment below which of the 8 skills you're most excited about or you want to work on, and then look out for the next 8-part series that I've got coming for you guys, going deeper on each one of these individual skills. Alright guys, that's all for today, and there's plenty more coming from me very soon.